Thrifty with Thrifty's Gaming News Podcast. I am here with my co host, Will. We are starting a bit early tonight to attempt a sound check, and so I'm actually going to have somebody in the chat, and I'm going to have my wife on her phone, and we will be able to see kind of how Will's audio sounds. So, Will, uh, let's let's make sure I'm actually live streaming. Okay, cool. Uh, let's go ahead and just let's start with the let's. Where can folks find you? Like how, where are you? Who are you? What are you? Like where is Gamora? Who's Gamora? Why? Anyways,
Well, I am a human, male, old, and I play video games, and you can find me on Twitter or X at Will777JP, and you can also find me on PlayStation, Will777JP.
um, and I'm sorry, I had my microphone muted. Whoops. So my wife said that there was an echo, but she said it was a small echo. So, in my mind, a small echo is just fine. Chat, let us know if it's not. What's going on, Michael? We are starting just a sound check. Uh, Wanted to kind of see how we can have some more consistency on the sound front, microphones, and such. And so, let us know how it sounds tonight. We are. Uh,
Yeah, let me know how my new Pulse Elite sound.
your new Pulse Elites.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael said it sounds good, so we're gonna go with that. That's awesome. How do you like them?
Well, I got them recently again, so I really haven't had too much time with them, but they're definitely an upgrade from the regular Pulse. Uh, but yeah, I mean they're more comfortable, that's for sure. I like some of the features, like the mic extends and you can set it back, set it in place where it's nice and tucked in. I like the charging on it. It's got a little connector at the top where the top of your head is, where you can hang it up and it charges. So that's pretty cool. And it's a much better sound quality too. So you can really get that 3D audio. It's a I would say about a 40% improvement from the Pulse, especially with the footsteps. Like playing Helldivers has been really nice with the new headsets. So yeah, I've been enjoying it so far, but time will tell. I have found a couple things that I don't like about it already, and just trying to see how they play out the more I use them.
Man, that's awesome. I am super jealous, but my accessory should be coming in here in a couple months. So I can't wait for that. I love PlayStation accessories. I feel like they always do really well by making their accessories specifically designed and catered to their console. So I've always really enjoyed that. Even when the Sony End Zones came out, they released a new headset, and it was right after, I believe it was right after the Pulse came out or was announced, and I was like, man, they're already doing a new headset, but they catered that one to PC because the PlayStation Elites or the PlayStation Pulses were catered to the console, and so I just really like that. I like how they kind of try to keep everything in that sphere. So tonight we have some discussion to be had on the gaming industry as a whole. There's uh, Everybody's getting laid off right now in the gaming industry. It seems no company up to this point has been immune to it. except for Nintendo. But I have kind of my reasons why I believe that we'll get into a little later. Right now, the gaming industry seems to be in a state of one of three: apparent uncertainty, reasonable reconstruction, or all-out panic. And those seem to be kind of the three that like either everything's burning, everything's fine, or it's this terrible, terrible thing that like it's this terrible thing that's happened, but everything's going to be okay. So like there's like these three avenues that you can take on how to view these, and we'll get into that a little later. Uh, Tonight there is going to be a lot of talk about it, though. It's going to be a lot of kind of just giving our thoughts on the situations, and so and just gaming as a whole and where it's at, and all of that. With that, we are going to celebrate some tonight. I know that not everybody is a super fan of it, but Final Fantasy VII Rebirth starts in 2 hours. 2 hours and 11 minutes, I believe, from now. So that is a guarantee that the show tonight is going to be about 2 hours long. Because after the show tonight, I will be taking a quick break, letting the day one patch do its thing, and then I will be jumping in to Final Fantasy on the live stream. I'll be doing a live stream for it. And so, yeah, if anybody's still up around that time and wants to join, be my guest. I'd love to have you here. I'm also going to be streaming it again tomorrow morning for probably 4 hours, 3 4 hours, maybe more. And so, yeah, really, I've been hyping this game. I've been talking about this game, and I just want to be able to play it.
So
And I
are
want
you
the
a full-blown
community
streamer now?
do what?
Are you a full-blown gaming streamer now?
No, 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 no,
That'd
no,
be the dream.
dude. You should go look at some of my tales of, not tales of. Oh shoot! Now I can't even think of the stupid name. What
Near
is it?
Automata?
No, I streamed a crap. It's leaving me. It has Trails from Zero. There we go. I streamed Trails from Zero. The first like 2 or 3 chapters. There's only 5 major chapters in the game, and like it did not go well. Like it was fun, but I was just playing the game and nobody watched. So I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do this anymore. And
What
so
time
it
are you
was.
gonna stream tomorrow?
I'll be starting probably after my shower and my coffee kicks in, and so probably around 8 o'clock in the morning Central Standard Time.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I'll be at work, but I might just put it in the background. I got my inventory to do, so I got a lot of walking around and counting.
A lot of
So,
reflecting time.
oh, dude, my copy doesn't come in till probably the afternoon. Best Buy, shipped it, and they usually don't get to my house till early afternoon, which is fine. But then that 145 gig download, oh yeah.
Yeah, Josh said it took him about 20 minutes. And all that tells me is that their internet, even though they say it's crap, is way better than ours.
Josh, it's not crap, dude. Look, I got my look, it takes me about I just installed, for example, the most recent game that I installed was Banisher, and Banishers is I think it was 30 or 40 gigs, and that took me 50 gigs, 53 gigs, and that took me about 8 minutes. And well, I shouldn't say downloaded because it's a disk, so it, copied. But 20 minutes for 145 gigs, that's impressive.
Yeah, that's what I said. I was like, bro, mine I started this morning and it was in rest mode, so I don't know if that counts or not. But like I got the notification at like 1:30 that it was fully downloaded and everything. And so it doesn't
What,
normally
you
take
went
that
to
long.
work?
Bro, I
Like
had
you
to go
went
to
to
work
work?
today.
No, I'm saying you put it in before work and then it texts you at 1 p.m. that it was done.
Yeah,
Damn, dude, that seems like a long time.
but that could have been
I
just
think
because it
it's
was
in
in
rest
rest
mode.
mode.
Yeah, yeah, might be. I think you're right.
But
Well,
like,
dude, for some reason my stuff doesn't on rest mode. I don't know. Maybe the chat can help me or you can help me. But I feel like when I leave games in the disk drive, they don't do anything. Is it because it's disk? I don't
I
know.
don't,
Maybe somebody can help me out.
I don't know. I've never really I don't know.
I don't think it does disk. I think it's just downloads. Because, yeah, I think when you put it in rest mode, basically everything shuts off except a little bit of the CPU, from my understanding. And I don't think that the disk drive will have enough power to get the disk spinning in order to copy the data. So I don't know. Anybody in the chat, maybe you guys know. Hey, Will, I got mine from Best Buy also. Can't wait for the Steelbook. Yeah, the steelbook looks look pretty good. My sister got me the deluxe edition, so I don't really know what's in there, but I hope it's some cool stuff because I just bought Endless Dungeon. It's basically a dungeon crawler, and I got the deluxe edition only because it was on sale. I think I got it for like 15 bucks, and it retails for 50. But the cool thing about the game is that, or the deluxe edition, inside the game, one of the little like side games that you can play is a card game, and there's a deck of cards, and it reminded me of you, Thrifty, actually, but they're like all gold, and like the detail is so good. I'm usually not super into stuff like that, but that impressed me, so I'm hoping. And the other one that impressed me too, which Thrifty agrees, is the Final Fantasy 16 map, that little cloth feeling thing. That was amazing too.
The cloth filling thing on what?
The map.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's nice. Already been subscribed and like button. Thanks, guys. Hey, Wara, what's up, man? I'm so happy that people are coming in. Uh, so we have, like I said, we got some shit. We got some stuff. Um, man, Will, I know you've been keeping up with all this. I asked you in the pregame, and you were like, "Dude, I listen, I watch this, and I read this crap every day." So like, I know you know what's going on. I know that you have your thoughts, that you have your opinions on this. Uh, I also know that you are in corporate business. So, man, let's just start. Let's go ahead and yeah, yeah. Let's go ahead and just dive on in. Um, what? So PlayStation's laying off 900 employees. They're proposing to close London studios. Uh, these these layoffs will affect everywhere across all studios. Which there's a couple like that's a lot of employees. Even as I'm sitting here thinking, dang, they have what 19 studios, 18 studios. That's that's about 10 people a studio. That some of those studios, that's a big number. That's half their staff at some of them. And so like that's happening. They're getting their benefits still. They're gonna be getting a severance and all of that. But like, dang, and all because money. Like they're not making high enough profit margins. And so, Will, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Well, I think that there is, I think we can all agree, and I think it was two weeks ago or two shows ago where we were talking about the award show and the CEO of Baldur's Gate accepted their awards, and they were talking about and during the acceptance speech he was talking about how basically the industry right now is complete trash, and um, a lot of people are very nervous, and they're just not in a good place. and he made some good points during that speech, which I resonate with a lot because it's not that these games are not selling, because the video game industry is making more money than ever before in the history of video games. Like the amount of money they are making is ridiculous.
Revenue, revenue, right?
Revenue and profit. That's something
Okay.
that people seem to kind of gloss over a little bit because we hear about all these layoffs and games getting, snipped and, they're being cut, but they're making a lot of money. It's just that it's not making the money that they wanted to make. So let me give you an example from my personal experience. Now, every company that I work for has done this. Whenever we create, every year, companies will create a budget, right? And these budgets are very important for the company because it will allow them to allocate money for different purposes, especially when you're growing, which is something the video game industry has been doing, especially during COVID, right? Where they went crazy with hiring, they went crazy with creating jobs because they saw a huge influx of people at home and gamers, buying more than they normally did. So they were trying to hit that wave, right? So when they create these budgets, a lot of the times are these numbers are fictional. And what I mean by that is, of course, they have operating costs, right? They have what rent is going to be, or lease payments, and energy, and they're guesstimating how much they're going to spend on toilet paper, like down to the penny, right? But the part that's imaginary is, for example, if they say, okay, guys, to run this studio is going to cost $1 million. That covers all expenses such as salary, developers, to the janitors, cleaning supplies. Our budget for this year is going to be $4 million because out of that 4 million, we're going to take 1 million to pay the bills, right? Salary, etc. Then we need another 1 million for research and development, right? Which is stuff that they need to develop the next game. And then the other 2 million we need because we want to expand. Now, that's the made up number right there, right? Because they don't need that 2 million to keep business going or even to make the next game. They need that extra 2 million for the future plans of the studio. And I'm just using the studio as an example. Well, what happens? They come out with a game and the game makes 2.5 million. So 1 million covers the salaries and the rent and leases, right? The other 1 million covers the uh, the research and development, and now you have $500,000 profit. Well, no, because they budgeted for 4 million. So now instead of showing, hey, we're $500,000 over what we really need, in reality we're 1.5 million short. So now we gotta lay off them people because we gotta make up that difference somehow. And that happens in every company, in every industry. And these numbers come from upper management, the CFOs, the CEOs, the presidents, the C suite, they all put in their number for whatever departments they're running. And then at the very top, they kind of calculate and then they decide what's more important than the other and then they figure it out. But if you just look at the numbers black and white, you will say, oh man, they should be at 4 million. They only made 2.5 million. They're down. They're doing bad. When in all reality, they're up 500,000. But because they set this expectation themselves, it's looking like it's losing, right? And that's a problem that I have with not just the video game industry, but with business in general, is because these budgets get so crazy, right? So crazy that now you hear of stuff like a $300 million game only made 500 million and it's a loser, right? Look at Square Enix. Square Enix is always saying their games, you know, it wasn't up to expectations, right? But you're wondering like how, like Final
Oh,
Fantasy
sure,
16 sold
sure.
how many millions? And then the last thing I want to say real quick, and there's more I would love to say and we can, but another thing that which I don't know how true this is, and I'm actually been looking at the looking up the tweet that I saw this from, and it's from Wooly, and it was from somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody, and basically it was for Spider-Man 1, Insomniac had, and please forgive me, but I'm just gonna use examples, right? Because I don't know the hard facts, but just to kind of give you, this is just a spitballing right now, right? For Spider-Man 1, they had, I think it was like three writers. For Spider-Man
Oh,
2,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
things ballooned up and now they had like 10, right? And I think the industry has had a lot of that. So yes, I think that them laying off people is terrible. I don't want anybody to lose their job, but I think a lot of positions are redundancies, just people that they don't need, people that they should have never hired. But that happens. But what really frustrates me the most is the people that made these decisions aren't the ones who are paying for it. The people who move across state lines to take these jobs, the
Yep.
people who change their lives around to take these positions that became available, right, because of quote unquote needs of the company. These are the people that are getting the shitty end of the stick. They're the ones who really have to pay for the 1.5 million out of that $4 million example that I just talked about. They're the ones who have to pay for it, while these CEOs are still getting their bonus money. And I don't mean bonus money like, hey, Thrifty, you did a great job this month. We're gonna give you $200 extra, and here's a $50 Chili's gift card. No, it's here's 5, 10, 15, 20, 30. Look at EA, $50 million, right? Bonus
Right.
money yearly. And that's the sickening part about it. And look, I love capitalism. I think it's the best economic system in the world, right? We haven't had anything better that provides the opportunity that financial system offers. But greed is such a shitty thing. And I
Mm,
think I don't want to say that it's got everything to do with this. Obviously, it doesn't, because like I mentioned earlier, right? Spider-Man cost 300 million. They made X amount, marketing, all that. But it does have some to do with it. It does have, look at Xbox, you know, they purchase all these studios, and what they do, they let go of these people as well. And Sony's in the same boat, right? They bought Bungie. Bungie laid off how many people a couple months ago? Now they're laying off another 900. They're closing down studios. Yeah, yesterday I think, oh no, the day before or Monday, Supermassive Games laid off. I think they were at like 120 or 150, and now they're only down to like 60 or 70. So like
ouch.
40% of their people got laid off as well. Maybe it's not Supermassive, but the people that make those movie games, like Dead by Daylight and stuff like that. So they laid
Uh,
off.
Deck 9
It could have been Deck Nine.
is what Josh is
Um,
saying.
okay, Josh. Yeah, thank you, Josh. So they let people go. EA today, right? Was it 5% of their employees were let go? So it's a shitty thing, man. Sorry to take over for that long, Thrifty.
No, you're fine. And so, yeah, you hit a lot of the things that it does suck. But I'm, like I said at the beginning, there's kind of three paths you can take on this. And looking at it from the business side, and I'm going to go back to the virus. During that time, board games, video games, tech as a whole, uh, trading card games, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Magic the Gathering, uh, One Piece launched one, I think, during that time. Heck, at one point, Final Fantasy was trying to get into that little trading card game space because everything was at home. Right, Josh? And so these companies, these big, huge companies, wanted to go out and tried to capitalize on the new growth potential. That's fine. I get it. But after everybody was allowed to go back to work, then the revenue starts to go down. Not only that, because of what we just came out of, the cost of goods goes up. So while revenue and profit are up, profit margins on these things are down. And so it's not enough to sell. If the first game sold 1 million, it's not enough for that game to now sell 2 million copies, because the money you're making back off of those copies per copy is not as good as it used to be. And so you're having to sell twice as much to make 1.5 times instead of 2 times as much. And so this all could be. I was listening to Lono the other day, and this wasn't even the topic of his show, but he made a really good point about the market is it went up and boomed, and now it's coming back down, and then through this year into next year we'll see it start stabilizing. And if you look at it, what companies are being affected so bad right now? It's your streaming companies, it's your gaming companies, your board games, your TCGs. Hell, Hasbro, their entire toy division has posted record losses, and they just cut like 30% or 25% of their employees. And like, it's because they hired so many during the virus that the sales have dropped. It's done. It's over. People are back to work, and the economy is shit right now. So we can look at it like that, right? We can look at it in that respect. Uh, yeah. Here's the deal, Wara. I didn't say I agreed with everything the guy says. He brought up a good point. And yeah, the way he loved Suicide Squad, that's not my jam. But also, I don't necessarily. If y'all haven't heard me talk a lot about Suicide Squad, other than I thought the game was junk. After that, I stopped because, funny enough, I don't play those games. That's not my genre, anyways. MMO third-person shooter with a god-awful traversal system. I'm good. And so there's folks built to play mega multiplayer online games, and that's just not me. Not mega multiplayer, but like those always online multiplayer battle pass microtransactions. Yeah, that's not for me. And so I was out on that game. I tried the demo. The traversal sucked, and I'm done. I don't want it. Uh, but yeah, on this, I think he brings up a good point. It's because we're not just seeing it in gaming. If this was something that just came out and it was just PlayStation dropping 900 employees, then I'd say, okay, that's weird. That's not okay. What's going on over at Sony? But when it's Sony, when it's Microsoft, the company that said they weren't going to be doing this after the purchase and did it anyways, Bungie, and I separate PlayStation and Bungie because Bungie is its own thing in for now, even though it's owned parent company by Sony. Uh, so you have those. You have EA. You mentioned Supermassive, Deck Nine, uh, Hasbro. You have Mattel that's dropped. Like Netflix, Amazon, or I'm sorry, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, Disney, Peacock. The list goes on, and everything I just mentioned is expendable income. Everything I just mentioned were things that people had a little bit more of during COVID. And so Now that that is not there as much, that expendable income, because everything's a little bit more expensive now. In some places in the country, it's a lot more expensive. In some places in the world, it's a lot more expensive. And so you're making close to the same as you were 2, 3 years ago, but everything's gone up 30, 40%. The money you have to spend goes away, and you have to start making cuts. Well, when you start making cuts, you look at the things that are considered frivolous. Your streaming services, your gaming habits, your heck, if you really want to get down to brass tacks, your nicotine, your drinking, your whatever your vices are, whatever your thing is, when money gets low and when the economy gets tough, you have to figure out what to cut. And so now these corporations are sitting here going, well, dang, everybody was home, everybody was getting stimulated, it was all great, this was wonderful, and we've rode that high as much as we could, and now we can't ride it anymore. And now we're having to come back down to earth. Uh, and the reason why I say come back down to earth is because Hasbro, even though they cut like 25, 30% of their employees, they're still bigger than they were pre-virus. And so there was growth had within these companies. There's growth, there's lasting growth that has happened within these companies. Or at least, let me rephrase that. At least for fact, I know that that's the case with Hasbro. I assume that that's the case with Microsoft, with Sony, PlayStation. I assume that they're bigger now, even after all the layoffs, than they were before the virus. I know for fact Hasbro is. So I'm conflicted. A part of me wants to go for the throat and say it's all management, it's all this, it's all that. The other part of me is like, you know what? Maybe this is the market just contracting. Josh said that earlier in the chat, and I thought that was a really good little way to describe it. And there's people who in the chat and in my video that I did in the messages there or the comments there, like it feels like gaming is getting a reboot. And I think that like there was another video that was done. Asmongold was reacting to somebody who was talking about how Japanese developers are going to end up saving the gaming industry uh, because Japanese developers are going back to making these kind of over the top, larger than life looking characters, be it female or male. The the male characters are big, they're strong, they're buff, you're just average a male, and you have the women who are they're fit, they're toned, they're curved out, they have definition, they
Feminine.
look decent, they look feminine, right? That's a big one. They look feminine now.
And
And uh, the guy was saying in the video that he was reacting to, uh, he was basically saying that these developers, when Forspoken crashed as bad as it did, that was a wake up call to Final or to Square Enix and to other developers over there. And there might be some truth to that. Like, hey, we're not going to redo the art just because people say to. We're not going to cater to this or cater to that. We're just going to give you a good story. We're just going to give
well,
you a good game.
Thrifty, that was the other part, and I disagree. I agree with everything except for the one thing. I blame 100% the management. I do. I blame them completely 1000% because it doesn't take a genius, and and the signs have been there. As soon as things started opening back up after COVID, the numbers started to go down. They've had about 2 years to adjust to the new world that we're in. It doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that during COVID, we have a spike. After COVID, We don't. But they just love that money way too much. I always joke around with well, I don't joke because it's not a funny situation, but I tell my friends all the time to slap me if I ever do this. Back when I was a finance manager, I there was a customer of mine who came in to see me. I think I've told this on the podcast before, where the guy made $40,000 a month. Do you guys remember me saying this? Do you,
Yeah, yeah,
Thrifty?
yeah.
Right? And he couldn't even finance a Jeep. But he loved that lifestyle, right? He loved the Tom Ford suits that cost two, three, four G's. He loved his BMW and Mercedes. He couldn't let the stuff go. So I get it that the economy isn't the best. There's a lot of these external problems, right, that accumulate for to what's happening now. I understand that. So that's nothing that we can do. But we can, like I tell my son, we stay prepared so we don't have to get prepared. It's not that hard to see the industry over the next 6 months, over the next year, especially the financials. Things don't generally happen in the financial world overnight. Even when stuff like the stock market crashes or, crazy things like that financially,
Sure.
there's always breadcrumbs and there's always little things that you can pick up and experienced people can see. And even just generally, we know there's always going to be a major shift within every 7 to 10 years. The Bible tells us so. The history of the financial market tells us so.
Yeah.
There's so many throughout world history. But the
Well, what's
one
really funny,
thing,
you mentioned that real quick. Let me jump in real quick,
yeah,
and I'll
yeah,
send it right back. What's really cool is I went to a investor like interest meeting long time ago. It was about 2018, I think, is when I did, and yeah, that's right, because it was 10 years after the 2008 crash, and the guy who was giving the presentation, he was from the banks, obviously, trying to get you to invest your money with them, talk to you about how investing is a good thing now and it's okay. And he starts like pulling out numbers and being like, hey, so remember in 2008 when the market crashed and like the home and the economy went to junk and blah blah blah, and everyone, of course we all remember it, that was terrible. And he pulled out numbers that if folks would have just left their money in the stock market, not freaked out, not pulled it all out, just left the money in, it would have doubled or tripled in some cases in that same time period. After 8 years, they would have doubled their money and in some cases tripled it because the stock market resets and the people who usually don't panic are the ones who end up getting the big fat checks. Sorry, go ahead.
you're good, Thrifty, and you're absolutely correct. And, I'm not saying the video game industry is like that, but anybody who does their craft, even like retail, that the holiday season is going to be your top season, right? Depending on the industry, like construction, for example, the winter time is where things slow down, right? Because you can't be building roads when there's 5 inches of snow on the ground, right? So that summertime is where you're going to ramp up and you're going to be working longer hours, and it offsets. Even even kids, they understand that summer break, winter break, homework. We usually don't get homework Fridays. Even at home, mom is not cooking on the weekends because she cooks throughout the whole week. So Saturday we go out for dinner or something like that. Like there's habits. We're creatures of habits.
Yep.
But the thing I wanted to say is that, and another reason why I blame the management and executives is because, and not just the gaming industry, but every single entertainment industry, so many people, and this is where I give the Japanese a lot of credit with what Thrifty was saying earlier with the Asmongold Gold reaction. This wouldn't be as bad if they gave gamers what they want. We're very vocal. We tell them exactly what we like and what we don't like. Now, true, we are harsh, right? We will make fun of a product. We will clown on it. We will come up with memes, but we let them know. and they think that they know better than us, right? That we're the least important part of their piece. When in reality, we're the most important part. We're more important than the developers themselves because the developers can make the masterpieces of masterpieces, but if there's nobody to buy the damn thing, what's it worth? So they need to treat the gamer with more respect, more intelligence, more respect for their time, and definitely more respect for their money. We
Okay, so
have now
here's
come.
I disagree in not in necessarily what you're saying, but I disagree that they haven't been giving us what we want. Because, like we've already stated, revenue and profits are up, which means people are buying the stuff. They are playing. They are getting the games. They are getting the products. Games can come out and they're selling way more than they used to. We have games breaking records every year. And so they're giving us what we want,
Yeah, 30, but is that because of accessibility,
but they're not making enough
affordability?
money off of
Well,
each
that's the
sale.
thing. If they gave us more of what we wanted, the sales will take care of. Just like I said 2 weeks ago when I didn't promote, but I retweeted that. Oh man, what's it called? It's called like Kingsman something. It's made by kind of like an indie studio, and it's this guy that goes back in time with like a machine gun, and he's
Yeah, yeah,
fighting
yeah.
like medieval times. Like that shit was fun. It looks fun. It looks tremendous. Like that's something I dreamt about when I was a kid. Like, bro, wouldn't it be cool to go back in time, but with like our technology, like we'd be kings, right? And now they're doing a game about it. Look at Helldivers, insane fun. We're doing the marketing for them, right? I have seen so many like reels and videos and YouTube, just like people free promotion. So yes, I agree with
Uh,
you. They're selling a lot more, but also we're in the age of accessibility. Like for example, when I was a kid, if we heard of a girl that was a gamer, we would all freak out, right? We'd be like, "Oh my God, you play video games?" Like it'd be like an alien. Nowadays, that's common. Like it's super common. Women play video games too, and I know they've always played video games, but the the customer base is much bigger, especially with the advances of internet. So they are selling a lot. I don't want to say that the games are not good because we are getting. I mean, look at 2023, right? We can name off the top of our heads 5 games that we will remember probably for the rest of our lives. That's not the problem. The problem is they're not giving us enough of that, right? They're focusing so much on other things. And one of the biggest complaints that we see from gamers, right, is oh, the game is too woke, or the game is too this, or the game is too that. And we're seeing this discussion more and more than ever right now. I understand that's a cultural thing, right? It's a political thing. There's so many things that go behind it. But when did games stop being straight up unadulterated fun? Right? Where you just turn it on and you're having a blast. That's why the 360 era is remembered so fondly by the gamers, right? Because that's when we had the best experiences, or not me because I never owned it, but the general gamer consensus, because they remember coming home from school and turning on Halo or whatever and playing with their friends and eating pizza rolls, right? There isn't enough of that. A lot of the stuff, like Destiny. I just watched a YouTube video yesterday about this guy who I wish I could remember because it's an awesome video. Who he basically has his wife, who's a non-gamer, play the game, and he doesn't tell her any hints or how to do anything. He just lets her figure it out to see how good the game is at onboarding gamers. And the game that this time it was Destiny. Now they've done Elden Ring before, they've done a couple other games, and it's always fun watching a non-gamer pick up the stakes because now they're like, what does this do and all that. And the funny thing is, everybody has the same problem with uh, the right and the left, controlling the camera while controlling your movement. But Destiny was such a shitty job at explaining things to her as a new gamer.
mhm.
Now, me, I'm an experienced gamer, right? I started playing Destiny like 6 months ago. I played with Nelson, T Rock, I played with a couple guys. And even I had trouble understanding some of the stuff. Now, thankfully, I have some of my gamer experience, right? Where I know red is bad, or I can read the map, and if there's red flashing, I know that that's where the enemy's coming from, map markers, just standard video game stuff that we're all used to that we don't think about. But for a new gamer, they don't know anything about that stuff, right? And that's just a good example because it shows that they have taken the gamer for, I don't know what the word is. For granted. That's the word. They have taken the gamer for granted, and they are doing a lot of things that are half-assed. They're not explaining things correctly, and bringing in these new gamers, which we need to keep the industry growing, and also satisfying the gamers that are currently in it. I think they've been doing a poor job at that, and that's why so many, especially live service games, are failing, right? And that's apart from the money of it, right? How they make skins that are $20, $30, and then the season passes and the FOMO, right? Fear of missing out because the season ends in a month and you don't have the time to play and get everything in that season. Like, that's aside from that. But they're doing a terrible job at explaining the games to the new players, and they're also doing a terrible job at keeping the current players involved. And that's what I mean by that. But yes, of course, they're selling a shit ton because now look at half the chat, right? Rebirth comes out in 2 hours.
Hmm.
Half of you guys got the game preloaded, ready to go.
Yep.
As soon as that clock hits, bam, you push X, you're in the game, you're playing.
Braun, and
10
they're
years
like
ago,
swimwear.
oh, and they're like swimmer, absolutely. But 10 years ago, that wasn't an option. You would have to go to GameStop, Walmart, wherever you pre-order the game. You have to wait in line. Then you have to pick up the game, go home, install the game, however long that took, play a little bit, because then you got to wake up in the morning or whatever if you didn't take the day off. But the accessibility was not what it was today. So, yes, they are selling a lot, but a big reason of that is because now everybody or anybody with a debit card or credit card can just be at home, put it in the PlayStation or Xbox or PC, put those numbers in, download that game right then and there, and start playing immediately. And guess what? If they don't like the game, they go ahead and buy another one, or they get on a Game Pass, or they get on PlayStation Plus, or they get on whatever other service there is, and they can continue gaming. So accessibility is huge, and I think that has fogged
Okay, so wait a second.
developers a
If
little bit.
because Josh brought this point up earlier in the chat, and if accessibility is so huge, why is Microsoft having to go third party? Because if what you're saying is correct, and accessibility is a big drive, at least one of the pillars that drives all of this, then why is Xbox having to go third party?
Well,
Why
two things.
why is Game Pass not just the greatest thing since sliced bread? Because it's making all these games accessible all across the map all at the same time.
Well, two reasons. One, the games that they have on Game Pass are just ass. And two, how do we know GameStop didn't falter or Xbox wouldn't have faltered years ago? What if Game Pass is the thing that has kept them going at least till now? We don't know that. But maybe Xbox would have never existed, Series X would have never existed. And because of Game Pass, it allowed them to continue a little bit further. So that's a what if kind of question. But like I always say with the games, and like how most gamers also say, you come out with good games, fun games, and the games will sell themselves. You just need to be able to market it a little bit in the correct spots.
But they are selling that. That's like at least on the PlayStation side, not on the Xbox side. On the PlayStation
Thrifty,
side,
we're the hardcore.
but
We stay up to date on this stuff. Like my cousin, I always bring him up, right? Because he's a casual. He doesn't know anything about Stellar Blade. He doesn't know anything about Dragon's Dogma. He doesn't know anything that's coming out next month. What he does know is, hey, I think they might do a Venom because it just makes sense. Do you know anything about that? That's all he knows. But he doesn't know about the games that dropped this. He knows nothing about Banishers. He barely knows about Helldivers, and he does because he's been seeing all the reels on Instagram. But they're not up to date. We do. So of course, like PlayStation, I have alerts on my phone, man. As soon as they drop the trailer on YouTube, bing. First thing in the morning I
me
wake up,
too.
I check. So we know. But my
I have mine
cousin,
set for the PlayStation Store sales, so when a new
me
sale
too.
drops, it notifies me that hey, there's a new sale, and I get on there
Yep,
like a damn junkie and go,
yep.
ooh, what's
Dude,
out?
we're addicted. Yes, absolutely. We're addicted. I text Nelson all the time, like, bro, what you think about this game? I just sent him the Endless Dungeon game, partly because I want him to get it too, right? Because I don't want to play by myself. But I've been texting Nelson like nonstop all week. He's like, dude, just leave me alone. Like, I can't afford it right now. Like, I'm like, my bad, bro. But I'm just like, I can't buy him either. But I'm just asking, like, what do you think? And we're constantly just talking about games. Casuals aren't like that, man. They're not like that at all. So
Mm.
yes, they're doing a good job for us, the hardcore, because we're looking for it. But most people, they're not. The
Okay,
majority
so
of the gaming,
what I guess I think I'm passing you a little bit on what I'm trying to convey here, because the stuff you're saying I don't disagree with, but I think I'm approaching it from a little bit of a different angle. My angle is that they they're selling enough. They're selling they're selling what 5 years ago would have been would have led
record
to
breaking.
record margins, record-breaking
Hmm.
profits and all of this. Now it's not. Now it is growth. It is year over year growth. Great job. But you mentioned this earlier. What if they had predicted a 50% growth and they only got a 20% growth? Well, now all that extra money that they were thinking that they were going to have, even though all their games have sold and they did all this, but cost went up and cost to make went up and cost to develop and cost to mocap and cost to do all this. Everything went up, and now they're sitting here going, "Well, damn, we're still profitable." This is one reason why, and here's the deal. People can call me a shill. They can say whatever the hell they want. Will, you might think I'm full
Ew,
of shit right now, but
ew.
that's why Jim Ryan comes out and he can sit there and say, I don't necessarily. He can sit there and say that like this is not indicative of our strength or position in the industry or as a company because they're still profitable.
Hmm.
Like they're just not making as much profit because the cost of everything has gone up. This is why it's going to be real strange for the first time ever. I think we're going to have a $50 price gap between the Pro of a PlayStation. That's never happened before. It's always been a $100 to $150 difference.
Well,
But
I
I
hope
think
it's more than that, but yeah.
and no, it won't be because they can't drop the price of the PS5 because the PS5 today cost more to make, produce, and manufacture.
Well, I don't mean in dropping price. I mean like the Pro better have some sweet tech in there
I
that
think it will, but
explains
just like with
the
the
cost.
PS5 base, they're not going to make as much off of the console as they did back in 2020 when the PS5 launched.
Well, real quick to answer your question, so two things can be right at once, right? We don't have to pick
Sure,
either or,
absolutely.
right? But the other thing, the in the last, I would say, this is just me, I don't know anything. I'm just a gamer like you guys, right? This is Thrifty Show. We're all regular guys, right? We don't have no insider information, but I
Right, no
think
shit.
that, yeah, I think that the thing too is with the gaming industry right now, just like the tech industry, it's been a big gold rush over the last, I would say, in specific, 5 to like 10 years. It's been a huge gold rush. I mean, the numbers of consoles that PlayStation is selling with the PS5, like they're gonna beat the PlayStation 4 by like a big margin. But I think it's a gold rush, and when there's a gold rush, right?
Hmm.
People, it's like, what's a good way? It's like you come from somewhere that's never been to snow or never had snow. Like I live in the north part of the United States, Wisconsin, right? And somebody from the Caribbean comes up here, right? And they come, I don't know, in summer. And all of a sudden we have a freak, or let's say spring, right? Because it happens in spring where all of a sudden there'll snow out of nowhere, right? It'll be April and it just snows for a day. You're like, what the hell? Like the flowers are blooming. That happens here in the central United States, northern part, right? They come to visit us and all of a sudden they see snow. And in their excitement, they start running, They put one flip flop on, they forget the other one because they're just so excited to go out to the snow, and they get out there and like, oh my goodness, snow. And then after they're out there for 30 seconds, they're like, wait a minute, my right foot is cold, but my left foot is way colder. You look down, oh shit, I only got one sandal on. Then you start to look up a little bit. Oh wait, I got shorts on. And then you keep looking up, it's like, oh, I got no shirt on. Oh shit, no wonder I'm freezing. And I think that's what's happening in the gaming industry. I think that the gaming industry saw profits and sales like never before. They rushed in, they hired all these people that they didn't really need, but they justified by saying, oh, well, technology is so advanced, it takes us 6, 7 years to make these games, and all the things that we talk about. And now that the fat lady is singing, now like, oh shit, maybe we ran outside to check out the snow a little bit too quick, and maybe we should have put some shoes on and socks and long jeans and a hoodie on and maybe even gloves and a hat. And now that realization is kicking in. And I think that's what's happening with the gaming industry. So I don't think it has much to do with the gamers, right? Because we're spending more money than ever. It's me specifically, I'm spending more money on gaming than ever, right? I'm buying DLCs, I'm buying all sorts of shit. So it's everybody else on the chat. We're buying PlayStation portals, we're spending a lot of money. Where is this money going to? So I think that there's a mismanagement in the development of these games, right? I think that they're doing a poor job in really maximizing their budgets for these games and really managing their time and their resources in these games. I think that's part of it. And the other part too is that now that things like inflation is happening and the economy, is pretty shitty, and now the cost of things are getting higher. It's making it much harder for them to readjust. If the economy was doing well and things were normal, I don't think we would have seen these layoffs. Maybe we would have, but not to this extent, because it would have been way easier for them to readjust.
Right. So here's what I want to let you know. So in 2023, uh, Sony, as an entire company, as an entire entity, employed 113,000 people. In 2019, before the sickie happened, in 2019 they employed, where was that number? In 2020, at the beginning of 2020, the number was 111,700. So the sickie happened. After that, they ramped up by 2,000 employees. And now they're cutting 900. So they added.
Oh, are we getting more games or less games than before
I don't see. You
2020?
mentioned that earlier, and let me push back on that also. And guys, if you're new here, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't. Will and I do this all the time. We go back and forth. That's why I love having him on. This is not an echo chamber. We don't have to agree to be friends and to be gamers. And so it's super easy to have these conversations with somebody who's not a jackass. And so that's what we're doing. So, anyways, uh, lost my train of thought. Um,
More games or less games?
More games, less games. There you go. Thank you. So, listen. Here's the thing. Over January, February, March, April, we have, what is it? 20? 18. I think 18 games, 10 of which I'm interested in, 5 of which are on my buy list, 2 of which I'm buying day 1. Being Final Fantasy Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Stellar Blade. Rise of Ronin is in the mix, and I'm about to I'm about to just go figure out. I'm about to go start stripping or something so I can buy Helldivers. But thankfully, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth came out just in time. But like, we're getting games at a faster cadence right now than I can ever remember. And that's
Okay.
not hyperbole. That's not me
No,
sitting
you're
here
right.
trying to front. I literally don't remember a time where there was a game a month that I'm sitting here dying to play.
You're right, but then what about 2023? The cadence was nowhere near as strong. As a matter of fact, 4 months ago, you guys were talking about how Sony is losing it. So yes, I understand
No,
that
no, no. I'm
right
talking about the
now.
cadence as a gamer.
Yeah, yes, as a gamer, absolutely, as a
Right.
gamer,
So
but
last year was packed also. We had shows where we had talked how cool it was last year that we literally had four genre defining franchises release games from those franchises. Like that's fantastic. We had a game come out and sell more than Call of Duty. That doesn't usually happen. And it was a single player, non online, non microtransaction laden game in Hogwarts Legacy that got snubbed at the awards.
big time stumped. I was about to say that.
And so I know that's why I was like, man, if I don't say this, I know Will's gonna jump because it did. And I tried to defend it, and I tried to be like, no, it was a niche game. That's like a Marvel movie. Nah, fuck that. It got snubbed.
Yeah, I got snubbed.
It as soon as the final numbers came out, and it was like, nah, this game sold more than any other game of the year. Yeah, that's enough to make me go, okay, cool, yeah, it should have been on the podium at least.
Oh,
But
Thrifty, before you continue, the last
go
thing I
ahead.
want to say about the whole mismanagement thing, and another reason why I think it's complete management that's bullshit. Why is Insomniac letting go of people when they're the ones that have been putting PlayStation on their back? It just makes no sense whatsoever. They're the one company that has been numbers wise really good and actually producing games, but yet they have people laid off. Naughty Dog, I kind of understand that, right? Because they had the factions that failed or that didn't get come out. Then what have they released since 2020? Nothing, nothing but the same of two. But Insomniac, come on, guys. Even I know not to let go of my best employee. I'm sorry. I just had to say that one last
That's
part there.
so, Josh, you beat me to it. But so I want to know how many people from the 300 plus, I think now, people who are employed at Insomniac, how many people are leaving? Because, like I mentioned earlier, if Sony owns 18 studios, not including back end staff, not including office staff, not including anything like that, for the PlayStation brand, if they own, and they have not owned, but if they have that many people, I'm sorry, that many studios, you're looking at 900 employees. So let's do the math real quick. 900 divided by 18 studios, you're looking at 50 per studios if they're all coming from studios, not redundancy in staff, shortening down a couple positions. Maybe Jim Ryan loses a couple assistants. Maybe uh, Herman Holst has to button up his entire shirt, like not just a couple buttons. Like maybe that has to happen. I don't know, but maybe the person who like unbuttons his shirt for him is getting fired. Like maybe that's what they're doing. But anyways, 50 per studio if it's just studio. I would love to see the numbers that are actually hitting Naughty Dog, Santa Monica, Sucker Punch, um, oh shoot, the people who make MLB, I
San
can't think.
Diego.
San Diego, thank you. Uh, I want to see it. I want to see what's hitting Gorilla. You know, I want to see what actually the numbers are, and that's something I mentioned in my video. That initial reaction, Sony handled this better than I have seen any other company handle it, and that is where even in the video I was like, damn, I sound like I'm going to bat for Sony. But we saw that shit. What company was it? Not Microsoft. We know that they lied, and we know that they were going to cut staff at ABK due to redundancy because every you
Mm-hmm.
called it, Will. You said every company does that as soon as they purchase a big entity. They find out
Mm-hmm.
what jobs that are being done there that are already being done by them in house already, and then they cut those jobs. We knew that was coming, but what was the other company that Bungie laid off people and did it in such a way where they didn't have to pay certain benefits.
Yeah.
You had EA that laid off, or not EA, you had Embracer that did the same damn thing. You have these companies coming out going, well, hey guys, hard times, and it sucks.
It's
Okay,
always the little guy, man. That's the shitty part about it all.
right. It's always the 40,000 to it's a $60,000 a year dude
Mm-hmm.
that or girl
Or
or
gal.
lady or
Yep.
whatever that gets screwed out of these. And you brought up a dang good point, and I can't remember if I said this or not, but you brought up a really good point. Some of these people moved their entire livelihoods to go work for
Yeah.
these studios.
Yeah.
Like if I will do it in a heartbeat. If Insomniac called me and said, "Hey, we want you to take one of the most suicidal jobs in the world or in our country, and we want you to come be a video game tester for us." That's actually a true stat. You can go look it up.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's because what they have to do. Because if you talk to the video game testers, it literally is running your ass into a wall 85 different times to see if on that 86th time you jump through the wall and it breaks the game.
Yep.
Like game testing is not getting the game when it's done. Game
No.
testing is playing the game in pre-alpha and going, all right, yeah, I fell through here, 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 and here. This one did a hard lock. This one I could reset out of. Oh my goodness gracious. And so, yeah, let's hope they don't listen to country music at the same time. No kidding, Josh. That's
Yeah, my
freaking true,
dog,
man.
my wife.
My wife left me, and now I'm running off this cliff on purpose. Like it's just a bad deal. But I would do it in a freaking heartbeat. Like I would be like, yes, I want to go work for Insomnia. And think about getting that call. London Studios calls you and says, "Hey, we're gonna work on Mother Father. We're gonna
Little
work
Big
on Little
Planet.
Big Planet 7. We want you to be out here. We want you to come over here. We want you to be a part of it. We're gonna have VR. It's gonna be interactive. It's gonna be all this, all the things we do, and we want you here." Who's not gonna do that?
Dude, I've been in that position before where I've moved for a job or traveled like hours that I normally wouldn't. And look, that conversation, when it happens, when you get the call, first things first, they make you feel like you're freaking Barry Bonds or Ken Griffey Jr. Like they make you feel like you're the guy, like you're him. Like you're the specific person out of all these people that we need. Without you, this puzzle doesn't work. Like, we need your expertise. We need your skills. We just need you. We need your smell. We need your essence here. And then they back it up with the money. And then this is what we're going to pay you. And it's usually way above market value, right? Let's say market value is 50 grand. Well, here's 60, here's 70 because we really want you. And then they start with we're family here, right? It's not
Yeah,
you're an
here's the
employee. No,
pizza
you're
party.
family,
Sorry.
right? Yeah, the pizza party. That every Friday we get pizza party, right? And then next thing you know, it's a hiccup, and it's like, oh well, now they make you feel like the third string, QB that's on a 3-day contract, right? And that's how it starts, bro. And this it's more than just, hey, we're gonna let you go. It's a lot more because they hyped you up. And look, you may be worth it, right? You may be a great employee and you may have the skills, but the way that it makes you feel, man, it goes more than just I'm not able to pay my bills, I'm not able to take care of my family, or I lose my health insurance for my kids or whatever. It goes above that. It goes into your self-confidence, into your everything.
Sorry, you just gave me heart palpitations saying all that stuff. That's my biggest fear is like no.
Yeah.
Like that stuff right there is where the feel bads come in for these people who did lose their jobs.
Yeah.
The cool thing, and here's the other side of gaming is not in a bad place. Gaming
No,
is
no.
correcting itself. And the reason I know that is whenever these devs lose their jobs, whenever these devs get fired, you always hear a few months later, or 6 months later, or even a year later, oh crap, these people all got together and they're making a game? Dude, no kidding. I can't wait to play that. These are ex Insomniac guys. These are ex London Studio guys. These are
Yes.
ex Japan Studio. These are ex Call of Duty. These are ex Battlefield. Like
Yes.
you always hear about this shift and these
Yeah.
changes and then these smaller studios and then they can have the chance to make their mark.
And
And
Ruthie, stop making so many good points because you're making me interrupt you all the damn time, and I hate doing that. But because you bring that up, and tell me what other industry does this. Please do. Maybe I'm so ignorant that I don't know. But today, I just saw the report. One of the one group of people that used to work for Blizzard. They stepped out and now they're doing a top down kind of a Diablo kind of game. They accrued, I think it was like $4 million crowdfunding gamers that said, "Hey, we like you, we like your skill, we want to support you," and then they ended up getting another $40 million from investors just because of their previous work with Blizzard. I think it's
Hmm.
Blizzard. What other industry does that where they leave and the customer says, "Hey, we like you so much, we're going to crowdfund you and get you going," and then gets investors to drop millions of dollars to keep them going? You don't get that anywhere. Anywhere. So yes, they are put in shitty situations, but they also have it way better than the steel worker who union couldn't come to an agreement and now he's laid off for God knows how long and he gets now $200 a week for unemployment. Like it's a big difference here, but it's still shitty. But I'm just saying that they looking at the other, the bright side of things, you have
So
a little bit more opportunity.
let's say, so here's some speculation on my end. All right, let's say that it's terrible, it's bad, and I don't know the bonus payout structure for Sony, so I can't really comment on it. I've never heard those numbers thrown around, but I do know that like EA is up in the millions, like multiple tens of millions. Um, so here's my thing. Let's say every employee at Sony put them all together, put all their pay into a big huge hopper, and let's say it averages out to about 65,000 a year per person. Okay, just average. You're going to have folks that are making 30, you're going to have folks that are making 50, probably some that are making 100 or 130, 150, whatever. Averaged out at 65,000 a person, you are looking at 58,000, or I'm sorry, 58,500,000, okay? And so that is that's a huge number, but it always makes me wonder, and this is in any business, when you get fired and you still see the top dog sitting there with the Rolls Royce, the fancy jets, the fully catered everything, dude. I'm just gonna say the like $300 muffins that are on Air Force One for the president of the United States. Like that's a number from back when Bush Jr. was in office. Like everyone's talking about cutting spending, and then you find out how much they spend on the food that the like president eats. Like, let's cut that shit first. Like, have this motherfucker eat a Lunchable. Like, we'll be all right. But like, anyways, sorry. Side note. Uh, I wonder how much stuff could have been cut to save that money. So in the restaurant industry, which while I was in college, I managed a restaurant. I've been shift lead, I've been line cook, I've been delivery, I've done every single position you can at a restaurant, all the way from doing inventory, payroll, back end computer, prep work, everything. And at a restaurant, if you're not making the profit that you need to, the first place you don't look is at your employees. Funny enough, at a restaurant, the first place you look for your overhead and where the hell your money's going is you look at your paper products, how much of them you're using, how you can reduce the cost of them. Are there some things that you can switch over to find a cheaper supplier or whatever? Or you look at your food cost and how much are you
With
wasting?
retail, same thing with retail.
Right. So how much am I wasting of this product on a daily basis? So I worked at a restaurant and I was a manager of a restaurant that made gourmet burritos is the best way I can describe it. It's like a Chipotle or a oh crap, it was a Moe's Southwest Grill, and they're real popular down here in the South. And I had it to where I could look at the make line as people were making the burritos, And I could go, okay, we just lost 2 cubes of steak. That was 30 cents. How many times a day are we losing 30 cents? How many times a day are we overcooking and over prepping food and having to throw it away at the end of the night? How many times a day am I giving out free drinks from a messed up order or having to remake because we're not following our processes? Like, these were things that I looked at first before I looked at, okay, I'm going to have to start running short shifts in order to make up the money. So, hey Byron, my guy, I love you to death, brother. I see you there, and I'm trying to. I'll respond to you in a second. I love Kingdom Hearts. The story is convoluted as hell, and I'm hoping Kingdom Hearts 4 fixes that. But I do love Kingdom Hearts, and yes, I will answer that question. Thank you for coming in, man. But like, what else could have been cut? Or is it something that, listen, we realized that we were overzealous, and in order to maintain functionality in the long term, we have to cut these things. And these things just happen to be people. And I'm I'm kind of in that position where, man, what if they actually sat and they're trying to correct the mistakes that were made, and now they're trying to plan for the future, right? They realized, hey, going forward, we can't have all these staff here. It's not going to work. We need to cut them, and we need to operate in this area of growth, but not as much growth. We can't do everything that we wanted to do. Somebody else pointed out in the chat that it's a lot of live service games that are getting canceled and a lot of live service studios that are going under. And I think that that is exactly what we all knew was going to happen. Not necessarily the studios closing. I was hoping that they would shift some of those talents into single player games, but like we all knew that when Sony came out and said, "Yeah, we're gonna have 12 live service games for this generation," no, no, you're not. you're you're not. And 12 new live service games, which could have meant new titles, could have meant new franchises. Who knows? Because I think you and I have done the thing where we've gone over and gone, well, if you count 6 of them being MLB, then that's only 6 others. You have Concord, Fair Games,
Hmm.
and now Helldivers. That's 8. Well, the other ones are now like, so we've done that. But like, what if they meant new IP? Regardless, it doesn't matter. The fact is unless you have a golden goose, unless you strike it rich, every Destruction All-Stars, every Foam Stars, every Babylon Fall, every Marvel Avengers, these games are going to fail. And they're going to be losses for the company. And fun fact, in a company, losses are not necessarily a bad thing, but too many of them become a bad thing. So in business, at the end of the year, when a business files their taxes, they actually like to be kind of sort of on that line of profitability versus negative, versus being in the negative. Because every negative that happens, they get to write off on their taxes as a loss, which is like it's how the movie industry is able to survive when a studio makes a movie and it just goes to shit. Like Lionsgate could go and put out a crappy movie, lose 200 million on that movie, and it is a net, it's a loss for them, but at the end of the year, it's a tax write-off. Same reason why big companies go out and buy a ton of vehicles in December and they'll upgrade their fleet in December, because that time they get to use that for the next year's write-off. Josh, I just called out Lionsgate because it was the first movie studio I could think of. I like a lot of Lionsgate stuff. Uh, so yeah, I think I really don't. I don't feel as doom and gloom as I did, and maybe it's I think it's called a familiar fudge monkeys. Maybe I'm just used to hearing it. I felt like Foghorn Leghorn there. I was just used to hearing it. Like it's a something biased. I can't say the first word. Familiarity, I think is how you say it. There we go. Because we've heard it so much, but also it's happening in other industries. And to their credit, so Jim Ryan did a really shitty thing, and then they did a really good thing. The really shitty thing was visiting London studios, taking that damn photo, knowing all damn good and well you were about to fire all their asses. That's bullshit. That is something that is despicable to me, and I do not like that. Will, have you? Dear God, I've never been in a position where we had a party or we had the head honchos come down and we all were doing great, and then 2 days later we're done.
Yeah, I've been in that before numerous times. And honestly, it when somebody like that comes, like a president or CEO comes, he's actually coming to give the news personally. He doesn't send an email, he doesn't make a phone call. Generally, the leadership that cares will actually go and visit and meet with management and let them know what's happening and answer any questions that they have. So I don't know what happened there, but a lot of the times, like in two that I've been in four of those situations where somebody like that, we threw a party. Two of the times were we were throwing a party because they were coming because they never visit, because they're so busy handling international business that they just don't have the time to come visit our little branch. So we just throw a little, some together, like welcome, and we they have like a thing planned, like a tour or introductions. Usually they have a little speech about how the branch is doing. So I think what may have happened is Jim was actually going there to break down the news, but they were just, oh, well, Jim's on the way out. Let's throw a little something for him. And then he walked in kind of like, oh, fuck. And what's he supposed to do? Like, stop the party? Hey, you guys are all getting fired in a few days. It's like, no, we're gonna let them live in bliss for a few more hours till they hear the fucking news from their team. And I think that's what happened with the PlayStation thing. I don't think that it was um as it looks. I think that was probably more than likely because based on what I've known from Jim, based what I've known from just the history since he's taken over, he doesn't seem like that type of person. Even when the company was going through some tough times during COVID, even with his dry, sarcastic humor, he still made an attempt to be personable with the studios. Right now, some things leaked that made him look bad, but I never really took much stock in it because that's his personality, and I think that's what happened more than the malicious part of it.
I don't know. I've never been in that scenario, and so it just feels dirty. Now, if he went there, and I don't know what happened behind closed doors, okay? If he went there and said, "Hey guys, listen, let's go out on a high note. We're shutting y'all down," and everybody was kind of like, "Yeah, we kind of saw this coming," or because here's the other thing: if your employee has half a freaking brain, they usually know when they're about to get the axe. I have never had to fire somebody before who had no earthly idea that they were getting let go. Like, literally, every single time that I've sat down with an employee, they're like, "Are you letting me go?" "Yep." "Yeah, I kind of figured." It's like, on some level, people usually know. Now, there are some instances where people get bought out or whatnot, and folks are hopeful and they don't know what their future is. But, like, generally speaking, eh, it's, yeah, RPG, yeah, the air is a bit different leading up to that moment. And it really is. It feels like we had a meeting this last week. Thank God it was just my evaluations. But we had a meeting, and all it said on my tablet was I'm not going to say his name, but basically it just said meeting with supervisor. And I was like, uh, that doesn't sound good. And I'm running my brain through going, I don't think I'm getting fired. I didn't do anything wrong. I've done everything they've asked. I'm here on time. I show up. I work. My clients love me. Like I don't have anything. And I was like, you know what? I have always handled this in a sense of I'm always going to jump out ahead of everything. And so I called my boss and I'm like, yo, dude, what the heck is this meeting for? Because it honestly sounds pretty ominous. And he goes, does it not say on the tag? And I said, no, it just says meeting with supervisor. And he goes, oh God, yeah, that sounds terrible. And he goes, no, he's like, man, it's just your evaluation. You're fine. I was like, okay, just checking. Because I had no feeling that I was getting let go. And so it was like blindsiding to me. But once again, I had no feeling. But I had to confirm because that's just one of those things. But like, I don't know, man. That to me that feels weird. Everybody in the chat is saying no, it's totally normal. That's how it happens. It's actually a respectable way to do it. So you know what? Okay.
And another thing too is in these situations, because I have been blindsided before. I have been, man. But another thing in regards to this is that this is why I do. I'm telling you, I blame management so much. So previous employment, my job was to go into a business and I would be there depending on the contract they selected and the service they wanted. I would go in there and I would evaluate absolutely everything from top to bottom. At the end, I will give them a report of the things that they need to improve, the things they're doing well, kind of like a report card for the business. And sometimes I'll be there for a day, sometimes I'll be there for months, right? And the number one thing, every single company, the number one thing was management. Management was always the problem. It wasn't the guy who made mistakes every single day. It wasn't the guy who didn't take care of the customer properly. It was never that person's fault. It was always management. My rule with management is your job as a manager is to give your employee anything they need to make their job as effective as possible. So if your employee says, "Hey boss, I need you to sweep and mop this right here, this hallway, because it's dirty and it won't allow me to go at the speed I need to go back and get product and come back up front to the customer," then that's what you as a manager will do. You will clean that floor up and you will make it as easy for that employee to move about
Facts.
as needed to, right? So when we're talking about London Studios, right? Let's be real. What's the last game London Studios published? It's been a while, guys. We're in 2024. So the reason I go into that little story is to say if management was good, that studio should have been under pressure internally already to produce something. Something. I know that PlayStation has given them a task, especially with VR, right? A very niche product. But we cannot allow the tasks that are given to us dictate how we're going to do our jobs. Now, yes, that task to me is more complicated than if Sony would have said, "Hey, here's $50 million for a regular, AA game. You have 4 years to do it." Because obviously VR is a niche thing. You're in virtual reality, a lot of different things that you have to work out. But in 2000, when they did Blood and Truth,
Yep.
the previous year before that, they did the World game. Then I think a year before that or 2 years before that, they did another release. And then going back to the mid 2000s, they were releasing multiple games per year, which is true. Everybody was, right? Because we're not looking at the quality of the games that we have today. But when you're in that position as a studio or any branch, it could be the Burger King you work at. When you're constantly in last place or constantly not producing anything, management should have stepped up and done something. Done something. And I feel like management internally, and I don't know, this is just me looking from the outside in, right? They could have been doing absolutely the opposite. And then PlayStation could have been sticking their foot in their way every step of the way. I don't know that. But just assuming, just looking at it from the outside, I feel like management really let that studio down. I feel like if they were really coming across development issues, they could have themselves let people go. Because I've also come across situations where a manager cares more about the employees than they do about the business. And we've seen businesses falter because instead of cutting back salaries or letting people go, they're actually doing the complete opposite. They're giving raises and they're hiring people when they shouldn't. And then you'll go into a business where you'll be like, who do you know here? Oh, well, the manager is my brother-in-law. Oh, the manager is my second cousin. Oh, the manager is my buddy's friend's sister's husband. What? And we see a lot of that,
Yep.
especially in businesses. So I
Oh,
don't know what the
absolutely.
situation is, but man, you never want to be the last in anything. Remember, average is good. Being in the middle is good. Blend right in.
So what's really funny is that's where I fell on my evaluation. I was pretty much dead center. And you
That's
know
good.
what? My entire evaluation, no problems.
That's good.
Some couple things I got to work on, but no problems. And I'm like, this is great. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and I they were like, yeah, we're really happy. Can't wait to see what you do this year. Da da da. You're good tech. Customers love you. Keep doing it. Work on your sales numbers.
What is it,
Cool.
Thrifty? Out of sight, out of mind.
Right. Exactly. And that I used to strive to be number one, and then I
So for
realized once
what?
you get to number one, the pay isn't that much better, and the pressure is
No.
insane.
And what? Well, once you're number one, it's all downhill. You can only excel so much, So you have a stellar month, stellar year. It's to beat that year over year. It's crazy, and that's another problem that I think these studios are having. They've been projecting and projecting north, upwards and upwards and upwards. That's inconceivable for them. Or, and I'm picking on the gaming industry because that's what we're, obviously about.
Inconceivable. Sorry.
But it's inconceivable for them to have a year over year where it's less. It to them that's like we're doing something wrong. No, you're not. It's just that sometimes it's the way things are, man. You could be doing everything right and you will lose. And guess what? That's life.
And that's that's one of the things I'm trying to teach my kids is that this life is not going to be fair.
No.
There's going to be a lot of times where you get passed over for something that you earned. There's going to be a lot of times where you have to swallow your words because keeping the job and paying your bills is better
Mm-hmm.
than not. And so my 10-year-old is actually starting to get it, and it's really interesting to watch when he realizes, like, so dinner time, right? I got a 10-year-old and a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old is in that picky phase where one night he loves the food. We could make the food 3 days later, and he's like, I hate this. And I'm like, bro, you better eat it because that's what's for dinner. Like, you're not getting anything else. We're not going to make you anything else. Mom made dinner. Absolutely, Josh. I concur. But my 10-year-old, he sits over there, eats the whole daggum bowl or plate or whatever, asks for more food. We give him more of dinner. He eats that too. And then afterwards, he's looked at us and gone, "Yeah, I didn't really like the food, but I knew that's what was for dinner." Absolutely, kid. Sometimes you don't get to eat the best thing or your favorite meal or the thing that you want. Sometimes you're not getting that. Other times you will. And so when you're not getting it, just eat it and move along. It is just food. Keep going. And so, like, you're absolutely right. This studio, the last thing it made was Blood and Truth. It was VR. VR, and this is why I keep harping. If you go economics, just economics, yes, management should have predicted this. This is what they should have been doing. They should have been predicting this a whole lot better and maybe not overhired during the pandemic. Got it. But at the same time, if your last game was in 2019 and it was Blood and Truth and it was for the VR, where's your new VR title? Well, what's happening? People don't have as much expendable income. People aren't buying the peripherals the way they thought they would or the way that they were hoping, maybe. I don't know, in every metric it's made money for them, but it hasn't made
We know
enough.
that it's at a million, right? Minimum. A million VRs. So let's say, what's the inception rate? 10% or something like that?
Yeah, that was like
15%?
that was like 8 months after it had launched. So we
It
actually,
launched.
yeah, that so we can guarantee it's at least a million. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Exactly.
Go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
if we do 10%, right? 15%, what's that number? 150,000, right? 150,000 times $40. Like,
Sure.
and this is something me and Nelson talked about on X yesterday, where he thinks that what's that developer who makes Little Big Planet,
Oh shit, I can never remember them.
well, they think, or he was saying that, yeah, I would have thought they were the ones that would have got closed down and not London studios. And I told him, because even though,
Media Molecule.
damn, Media Molecule, I said, even though Media Molecules is not making the money and they're losing money, they're still producing something. So PlayStation may not receive the benefit of financial benefit from Media Molecule, but they're getting a benefit by interaction from the customers, right? They're getting a customer base to stay on the system to play
Sorry,
Sackboy.
interaction. That's funny. Go ahead. You're right, but go ahead.
So they're getting something out of it. Where London Studios, they haven't done shit. And look, once again, I don't know why, but the bottom line is, if we're just speaking cold hard truths, they haven't done anything. It doesn't
Correct.
matter the excuse. They haven't done anything. So it makes the most sense that that developer or that studio were the ones that got shut down
And their
in
specialty
comparison.
is for a peripheral that is not moving as fast as they wanted it to. So
Well, that's what I'm
here's
saying. If they
here's
would
the other
have
thing.
done just one game at $40, they would at least have something to show for it, but they don't.
Like when you when you look at gaming and you see what's happening and you see Herman come out and say we need to refocus, we need to focus on what's made us good. Like it this is where I feel that we're starting to see that shift. Like if you look at the news this week minus the layoffs, it's been a hell of a good week for gaming. We've had companies come out saying they're going to stop live service or some of these live service ventures. We have other companies coming out and stating that no, we're not going to change our creative direction just to appease people. We're going to do the games that we want to do and we're going to have the creative style that we want to have, and we believe that the games should look this way and game characters should look like this, and we're not going to back down from that. Kudos, guys. That's a hell of a win for the gaming industry, at least in America. Josh and I've had this conversation back and forth. At least in Western countries, like that is a big deal. That adds that breathes a little bit of life into the industry. Also, the life that gets breathed in by games as a service becoming less and less. And so, Cosmic, you and I've kind of been talking also via X, and I think on the video I did, like these this feels more like a reboot, like a restructure and a refocus, and not just for PlayStation. Think about it, guys. As much as I bash Xbox for what they're doing right now, and I like to puff out my chest, it is probably the best and most intelligent thing that they could do as a company is to take these IPs that they have and go third party. It really is. It's the thing that makes the most sense, right? It actually feels like they're doing something that makes sense and is logical. Herman Hulst comes out and says, "Hey, after everything that's gone on, I want to let y'all know that we're refocusing, and this is we had to we're trying to refocus. I don't have the exact quote, but basically we're trying to refocus, reshape, so we can continue to deliver the high quality games that we're good at. Fantastic. You should have been doing that from the beginning. So that's where I'll concede that management does play an issue, because you should have been doing that from the start. F live service. Not everybody wants that. Try your hand at maybe one a year or one every other year. See what happens. Or purchase Arrowhead and say, thank you, here's your check, and now you're ours. Like, I don't care either way. But I feel hopeful outside of the layoffs from what I've heard this week. Speaking of hopeful, guys, I have a grand total of about 20 minutes until I got to end this thing. So I wanted to cover something else, and I wanted to get Will's thoughts on it. Because if I'm not mistaken, and I don't think I am, Will, you actually loved Last of Us Part 2, right?
No.
Okay, you hated it. Cool.
Oh no, I didn't hate it. I loved the game. I hated the story, the
Okay,
story
cool.
structure,
Gotcha.
not the story, the
Okay,
structure.
fair enough. So Neil Druckmann did an interview today with a rapper, which I thought was pretty cool, like combining of two worlds. But he did an interview with Logic, and if you don't know who Logic is, look him up. Logic is fantastic. He's going to use a certain word that people who are painted the way that he is should not use, but he's actually mixed. He just got a little bit more cream added than cocoa, so he's a little bit more. He looks like me. Uh, Anyways, that's my only disclaimer for Logic. Outside of that, the dude can write and the dude can rap. Anyways, in an interview with rapper Logic, Naughty Dog president said he can envision himself transitioning to something more low key, which enables him to continue to being creative in a less stressful environment while also spending more time with his kids. uh, Asked if he sees himself in making games forever, and Druckmann said recently he's really enjoyed working on other creative projects like HBO's Last of Us TV show and a Halloween Horror Nights experience at Universal Studios. Okay, so two things. One, if this jackass is more focused on movies and theme parks, get his ass out of there right now. Let him go. Goodbye. I'm sure he makes a metric ton of money. Get him out, cut the salary, put somebody else in there at half. Do it. Let him go. If his heart's not in it, get him out. Because the last thing we need is a half-ass game from Naughty Dog. That's the absolute last thing we need. But this, in the way of good news, guys, if Neil Druckmann can get the hell out of Naughty Dog, that is a win for everybody involved.
I disagree.
Okay, why?
Well, because Neil has experience. He's been there. He's done that. He
Hmm.
is a creative. I mean, to me, he's a creative genius because a lot of people will say, well, Neil's only done the one IP, right? And I say, where's your one IP in anything that has been as successful as that? Lightning doesn't strike all the time with creativeness. Now, do I agree with everything Neil does? Absolutely not. I think The Last of Us 2 was a huge letdown, and here comes The Last of Us fans. You're not emotionally intelligent enough to understand the genius. Dude, I get it. But that's why I don't like it, because I do understand it. It's the structure of the story that I don't like. If they would have structured it different and kept the same story, it would have been way more palpable. But I would
Yeah,
be
I
more
got your creative
more
genius right here.
right here, right?
Yeah.
But the thing with Neil, which I hope that these guys are doing, because these upper level management could go either one of two ways, right? They're 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 very good, both of them, but one is always training his replacement. The other one is gatekeeping. There is no replacement. Without him, everything fails. So I hope that Neil has been training his replacement, because if we can get somebody in there that has the know-how and the capability and makes it their own, Naughty Dog will be in good hands. And that would be the exciting part of him leaving, is that. But the scary part about it is that we have a seasoned vet who is, and by the way, I agree with him 100%. The work that I do now is not what I normally do. But like I tell myself, I can always make money. I can never make time. Right now, my son is going on 8 years old next month. In about 6 years, 7 years, he's gonna be more into girls and friends and doing his thing. All I'm gonna have to do is text him like, "Hey, did you eat today? You're good. All right, talk to you later." So I'd rather do what I'm doing now, make less money, but be with him and raise him and be there as a father than to be at work slaving away for 12 hours a day, making a buttload of money, and then when my kid is an adult, he fucking hates me because I never made baseball practice. So I understand
Mm.
exactly where he's coming from, especially when it comes to your kids. Because at the end of the day, man, when we're all old and tired, we're not going to be thinking about those long nights at the office. No, we're going to be thinking about the time that we did spend or didn't spend with our family. So I can relate with him a lot. But at the same time, as a gamer, I want to pause. I was about to say I want to suck all the juices from him, but I want to use him
Mm.
up.
Yummy.
I want to take advantage of him. Pause. While he's in the
Damn.
position he's in, and I want him to continue to make these great games that mechanically are just so awesome visually, art style, they're so awesome. So I understand them from one side about wanting to something that's low. Remember, guys, these guys are in charge of hundreds of people. They're in charge of millions and millions, if not billions of dollars. Like, it's very, very stressful. And it's not an easy position. And today, or yesterday, when the layoff news came out and people getting let go, most managers or most leaders, believe it or not, it's kind of like when your mom beat your ass when you were a kid and she's like, "This hurts me more than it hurts you." And you're looking at her all crazy, like, "What the fuck are you talking about? I'm the one getting hit, not you." But now that you're a parent, you understand because you don't want to see your children hurt. You don't. But you know that sometimes the discipline is necessary for their own well being. So, what I'm saying by that is, having to make or break the news down to these employees that you spent a decade with just making one game, that they're friends, they're family, you guys hang out with each other, and just to break it down to them like, "Hey, we got to let you go." Like, sometimes it's more hurtful to the person relaying the news than it is to the person receiving that news. So go ahead, Thrifty.
So, just real quick, because I'm a shill. Quiet Doom in the Discord just posted a link from Genki, which was a retweet of Square Enix. If you go to Google and type in just the word Chocobo, there's a little icon at the bottom. That's a little Chocobo symbol. Go ahead and press that icon repeatedly and just enjoy gaming. Just go do it. It's the
That's
most
cool. I
cutest
like
thing I've
stuff
ever
like
freaking
that.
seen. It's
See,
adorable.
guys, 10 years ago, that would have never happened.
Right?
Going back to the beginning of our conversation about accessibility and being available, that would have never happened. But look at the world we live in now, dude. Now movies, the nerds are in control of movies. Sunday, I'm gonna go see Dune 2, which I am super excited to go see. I'm glad the reviews are doing really well. But in the last few years, movies have sucked ass, right? And we finally are getting a movie like Dune 2, which I'm saying based on what the reviewers are saying, that it feels like the old Hollywood, like the story's really well written, the movie's really well acted, like it's peak movie, right? So that's what I want in my video games. I want them to feel fun. I want them to feel exciting. I want them to feel new. Like the game that I just beat, I was telling Nelson about this day before yesterday, was Leica Age Through Blood. It is an indie game. It took me 40 hours to beat this game. I also recommend it. It's on sale right now at the PlayStation Store for $15. Highly recommend it. Beautiful game. But that game did something that I've never did before. Never. The second game that I'm playing, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. This game is so well voice acted. The story is so intricate. It is blowing my mind. And the third game that I'm playing right now is we're talking Power Wash Simulator, Warhammer 40K DLC. DLC of the year, but not one AAA game I mentioned, right? That is maintaining my attention, that's keeping me engaged, and a game that I'm having a lot of fun with. Except when we get The Last of Us. Except when we get the Ghost of Tsushima's, the Spider-Mans, the God of Wars. And I don't know if you saw on Twitter or X, under the article, Corey Barlog commented and said, let's all just retire and go open up like a vegan uh coffee shop for cats or something like that, he said. But people are saying, was Corey thinking of retiring too? And you got to think, man, these guys have been in this industry for 20, 30 years.
Yeah, but
Any person that's done it for that long deserves retirement.
sure. And I'm not going to get mad at some of these old heads for retiring, but like, I mean, here's the long and the short of it. If if he's sitting there going, shit, I don't have to do this. I can do something else. I don't.
Then
So
go,
okay,
absolutely.
I don't know if anybody's seen the movie. Some people probably have. It was super popular. Sister Act 2.
Oh, I love that movie. So funny.
Lauryn Hill is in that movie, which was the lead singer of Fugees until she went off and did solo.
Yep.
And I never knew that that was Lauryn Hill. Like I never put the two together. And so in the movie though, Lauren's character is she's talking to Whoopi Goldberg's character and basically trying to figure out if she has the ability to be a singer. Like she has the ability, but does she have the desire? She looks at her and tells her about this book from this guy who always had folks coming up to him and asking him, "Hey, I want to be a writer. How do I become a writer? I want to know what do I do? What steps do I take to become a writer?" And what she says is that in the book, the guy says, listen, if you wake up in the morning and all you can think about is writing, and you write all the time, then you, my dear friend, are a writer. And she looks at this younger teenage girl and goes, listen, if you wake up in the morning and all you can think about is singing, then you're supposed to be a singer. It's the same thing that I tell people if you wake up in the morning and every single morning you're like, God, I hate my job. I don't want to do this. I could open up a taco truck down here in Tijuana, Mexico, and be totally happy with my life and never have to worry about anything again. Then leave. Like, because you're not doing anybody else any favors. And so hey, Kyle, listen, if that is your passion and that's what you think about the moment you wake up and you're excited about it, and it's not a, oh my God, I have to go back. Like, one of the things that I will sit there and say is, as an HVAC technician, I absolutely love my job. And the recency bias is gone. I've been doing this now for almost 2 years. It has been every day almost. I love going to work. I love my job. And if at some point it gets to a consistent basis where I don't like my job anymore, or it is not doing what it needs to, it's not, you know what I mean? It's not fulfilling anymore. No, sadly, Kyle, that's probably about accurate. Sadly, um, especially with install and wiring and all that other stuff. Yeah, I don't sell new units, but I can only say that sounds about right. Um, but like if if these guys, Neil Druckmann, Corey Barlog, if these dudes are sitting there going, you know what, I can really see myself doing other things and I want to do other things, then do what Jim Ryan did and get the hell out. Jim's like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm done. I don't want to fly back and forth between London, Japan, and the Americas. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't touch down hardly ever. I am tired. Get out. Nobody nobody's going to be pissed off if you look after, like you said, Will, if you look after 30 years and go, listen, I am so done. I'm tired. Can I go to sleep now? Like, It literally is the way that people should approach their jobs and their life. Listen, if this thing is not fulfilling anymore and you're still putting in 110% effort and it's just not yielding anything, in most scenarios, I would say it's good to go ahead and just cut ties with that company and leave. Find something else. Research
And
something else. Learn, grow, innovate, create. Do all the things that make the human a human. We have the ability to do things that other species can't. And so many people squander these opportunities. So many people sit in these ruts and do things in their life that are not fulfilling. And the end result is a mediocre job, a mediocre life, and a mediocre career. And the way that translates into gaming is that we then get a mediocre product.
yep.
We then get something that's been slapped together by somebody who half-assed it and was thinking about being on the boat fishing instead of actually working. If it's not your passion anymore, that's fine. Things change.
Hmm. And
I
that's
was
kind of,
really. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, let's not get it twisted, guys. They're obviously in a, privileged position, right? Because they're wealthy, they've done really well. And look, I'm not saying it's not earned. They absolutely earned every penny and more, in my
Absolutely.
opinion. But they're in a privileged position where they can't just say, I'm done, and go start a coffee shop in Alaska and serve Eskimos if that's what they really wanted to, right? And be just fine. Us, we don't really have, a lot of us don't really have that capabilities because we have responsibilities, right? So like something I've been teaching my son is, okay, I'm not gonna ask you what do you want to be when you grow up. The question I'm asking you is, how do you want to live when you grow up? Do you want to live
Boom.
like dad? Do you want to have a house this size, drive the kind of car I drive? Do you want to have something less or more? And then go based off that on what makes the amount of money that you need to live that lifestyle that fits with what your passions are. And if you're one of the lucky ones, they both align, right? You are passionate about math, you become a nuclear physicist, and bam, you hit your sweet spot in life. But we need more of that in the video game industry, and that's why I'm actually very excited for the we talked about this on the last show, with the insomniac and the kids and the skins and the money, and it goes to the schooling, because a lot of times these kids don't even know they're interested in something because they don't know. They just don't know anything about it. So for example, I just did parent teacher conference yesterday with my son. So my son's in the second grade. He's doing fourth grade level math, right? He's in the 96 or some percentile in the country, on kids that are at his level, right? So he's very high up there. And I'm asking him, like, well, what do you think about math? He's like, oh, I love math. It's super easy. And he's telling me all these things about it. So to me, I want to encourage that, right? So we need to encourage, and I'm just using my son as an example, but we need to encourage in these studios, what are you passionate about? Are you passionate about art, or are you passionate about directing? Are you passionate about engineering? And we need to promote these things. And once again, it comes back down to management, right? Because you may have somebody who is not qualified, not one bit. They can't write not one bit of code, but their passion will allow them to learn quickly, or to look at their colleagues and be under, some extra time, and be able to learn some systems to get them going, where maybe in the future, if they're capable enough, they can get into that. And what better person would I want making my video game, who not only wants to be there, but they also want to make the specific game the company is asking them to do. And that's why you'll see on job postings in the video game industry, will they'll say something like hiring for visual arts director for big AAA game. And that's all they give you, right? Because they can't really tell you what it is because of spoilers and, whatever. But then once you go in there, okay, Naughty Dog has done The Last of Us, they've done Uncharted, they've done, that other game in the mid 2000s. I like this kind of stuff they've been doing. I'd be excited to be part of the next venture. And we really need more of that. And we have passionate people. I'm not saying it's right or you should take advantage of, but you can get people to be more efficient, more effective. So instead of hiring three people to do the same job, you may only need to hire two, because the passion drives them. to be that efficient at their work. But that also means we compensate them properly, right? If we pay 60K a year for this specific job and we need 3 people, but these 2 guys or girls are really good at what they do and they love it, well, let's pay them 80 or 90. We're saving money by not hiring a third person, and they're knocking out the job of 3 people anyways.
Yep.
We need to encourage a lot of that.
So my buddy who owns kind of a smaller business, I have a lot of business people in my life. It's really strange, like where like everything is just kind of lined up because I have several business people in my life who own small businesses, and one of them, they ended up letting they ended up letting one of their employees go, and I was like, "Oh, you gonna hire somebody to replace them? What are you gonna do?" And his response was like, "No, I actually think I'm just going to divide that money up amongst everybody here. Like some folks who have been needing raises, deserving raises, and even if I give everybody a raise here, I'm still going to come out saving a little bit of money on labor costs, and I'll be able to keep some of these employees who've been here forever." And I was like, "Shit, dude, that sounds great." Like our workforce at the company I work for has decreased by about 20%, but our customers are still getting taken care of. We're all getting our proper hours every week. Everybody's really in kind of a decent mood. Nothing it hasn't been backbreaking. And so because of that, it's afforded our company the opportunity to be able to be more selective on who they hire. So they're not just taking anybody off the street and says, "Hey, yeah, I want to do HVAC. Do you know what tools are?" No. Do you have any idea about anything? No. A few years ago, they would have hired that person. I know that because they hired me. And even though I was an automotive mechanic, I have no idea or had no idea about HVAC systems. But they took a shot on me because they had to. It was a season of growth. It was a lot of stuff. And now that we're still growing, but we didn't have the same numbers we had in 2022 last year. And so, like, companies have to do this. They have to be able to make these decisions. And it's it's good that we're getting new blood in. Like, I love watching some of the devs who worked on Helldivers 2, like talking and like showing their face and
Oh,
stuff like
dude,
that,
it's
because you see
amazing.
how young some of these guys are, and
Yes.
some of these ladies are. Some of them, I'm like, dude, I could be your dad almost.
Yeah.
Like, if I had a kid at 17, I or 16, I could be your dad. You don't look a day over 20 years old.
Yeah. Dude, that you're so right, Thrifty. And look, I just had it with my son yesterday. He was passionately talking about math, a subject I'm not the best at, but just hearing the passion from him it gets you excited. When I watch the developers, interviews or whatever, and they're passionate, anybody who's passionate about what they do automatically piques my interest because what makes it so passionate for you? Tell me about it. And that's why I'm a big like the Grounded 2 came out on YouTube for free. Basically, it's the making of The Last of Us Part 2. Even though I'm not a huge super fan of that specific game, it's still super cool to watch these people just go over, their trials and tribulation while making that game and having it come out the way that it did and the reason they made some decisions, stuff that I, don't agree with sometimes, but it's just super cool, man. And that's the gaming industry is such a cool, fun place, and it's so welcoming for so many different people, young, old, just different cultures, different religions. It's just so awesome that we can all get together and talk shit about the same damn game. It's so funny.
Right. Um, Guys, with that, I know this is kind of an abrupt end, but I have 15 minutes now until I'm going to be live streaming Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. If some of y'all are on different time zones, I or if y'all just work like don't work nights, or I'm sorry, or if you do work nights, I'm about to be doing this. I'd love for y'all to join me. I need to take a quick break, and so we are going to kind of end this right now. Um, if you haven't played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, play the damn thing. It's going to be fantastic. It is a 90. It started out as a 94. on OpenCritic and Metacritic, dropped down to a 92 on Metacritic and a 93 on OpenCritic. And not many more reviews have come out since that drop. And so this game has the capability to be Game of the Year up until I play Stellar Blade. So I know that's only like a month and a half away, but up until I play that, I'm already predicting this thing as Game of the Year. Will said earlier he thinks the sales for this thing are going to be stupid outrageous. I really hope so, and I hope that Square Enix does the right thing with that money, which they probably won't, but I hope that they do. With regard to that, PlayStation just dropped a new sale. There are some pretty cool sales out right now. Granted, these are digitally, but Jedi Survivor is like half off, which is the deepest sale it's had. It's like $32. So that's actually a little over half. So if you've been holding out on Jedi Survivor, the PlayStation has been mostly fixed and it's mostly done. Uh, and it runs really good in performance mode now. But like, go ahead, check out that sale. Also, we're getting into spring break time, so remember that if you want to hold up and save up some of your money, because over spring break you'll have GameStop, Best Buy, Target, Walmart. Uh, a lot of your major retailers are going to give discounts and stuff like that on games for that time period. It's a good time. All the kids are home. Parents don't want to be bugged by the kids 24 hours a day, so they buy them a new game to shut them up. And so it's listen, I got Donkey Kong one year over spring break, okay? Like I'm fully aware of what my parents are doing and what other parents do. So uh, be mindful of that. We have a couple big sales coming up. We have the May sale, the summer sale, and then June or July is usually when you get the discount on the PlayStation Plus, uh, Premium Plus, Extra, all that crap. We are at school over spring. Yeah, we are. Yes. So we are too, but we have a spring break, and it's like a week vacation essentially during the spring. But, anyways, good Lord, I talk too much. Will, what is the best place to find you? We did it at the beginning. Let's do it now.
You can find me on X at Will777JP.
Okay, are you still doing the YouTube? Are you still considering doing the YouTube thing?
Maybe we'll see, man. I
Maybe.
like talking
Okay.
to you guys sometimes, not all the time.
That's fair. Um, guys, hit that subscribe button on your way out. Hit the like button. We are 75 away. The video that I did actually generated some. We've had the live streams continually generate subscribers, and so I truly appreciate that. Hopefully, uh, this this Final Fantasy VII venture will be fun for me and fun for the community. I don't expect huge numbers from it because I'm not that guy, but like it's still I can't wait to be able to play this and share this with everybody day one. So y'all have a good night, and as always,